who's to say that they would have been successful in a remedial class? If that knowledge gap is there, and they're not able to process the information yet, slowing it down won't necessarily mean that they'll be able to process it any better. It's not the time support they need, it's the support from tutoring, support from math-specific groups, and from the professor that will make them successful.
Thank you. This side of the room, any speakers here? Okay, there was one in the back row here. Yes. I've been dying to say this. First of all, if I'm in a swimming pool, I swim very well, and you can put me in a pool with Olympic male swimmers, thank you, any day of the week. And I'll flounder all day. It's great. I'm not just a core math teacher. I'm not a core math teacher at all. I do teach in the math department, but I teach in a core program. And one of the problems that we have with this is math is not just a standalone, and they're not being held back just from math. One of the problems we've seen for years is that putting students in a slower route is actually handicapping them in their program. And by not allowing them to the catch-up take that we've tried it, and it actually has caused significant problems for me in my second year core. My students are not thinking fast enough, they're not working to the competencies of the program and the specifics that they need to graduate in their core. So I'm all for having access and all for having different systems put in place to help the students get up to speed. But if that's too slow a process, they will suffer in all the other programs. So that's partly where I come from, is that's from practice. And we've tried to slow it down, and it actually, I have this saying that, the great problem in this world is not that you put a bar too high and you can't reach it, it's that you put the bar too low and you do. And I find that sometimes when you put that bar too low, the students don't strive to reach above it. And it's just kind of a weird thing that's been happening, that students just keep put the bar lower, and they're not striving to go higher.
Can I rebut that?
Pro-integration.
Absolutely. Can I rebut that?
Go to Don.
Hey, Stephanie, buddy, go for it.
I was just going to quickly say, you can all hear me without a mic? Yeah. Quickly say that because they're in remediation does not mean the bar has to be low, right? Just because they're in remediation doesn't mean they're not going to have friends. Just because they're in remediation does not mean that they're not going to move forward in their program. I don't know how it's worked at yours, but for our college, they take one math course and they move on with all of their other classes as normal. And they make up one class. And it's actually going to be more classes they have to make up if they fail in those integrated classes.
Yeah, but what about that big capital R that's branded on their forehead?
What's that? What are?
Remediation.
But I don't see it. They don't see it. There's the problem.
So,
Maybe that you think they have an R.
murder. So what happens at our college is we give a math assessment test, and that math assessment test, so a person is coming brand new into the college and they're going to take a math assessment, and we've got all these practice things that you can do on a math assessment, but who's going to look at that, right? Because it's summertime. So you arrive at college and it's all brand new, and you get the math assessment test, and it comes up on the computer, and you're looking at it and it's going A plus B equals 5, or 341 divided by 4. Questions like that. So what's happening is people are looking at that right straight out of grade 12 and they're thinking, well, shit, this is just the same crap that I had to work with back in grade 8. And there's some other people thinking, wow, I haven't been in a math course in like 12 years, and now this is really bad. I'm going to have to dig back into those old memories, and they're just not there. So those people, they got slated out to, filtered out into a remedial class. The remedial class is going to keep going over those same questions. There's no motivation there, folks. So what kind of motivation is there if you stay in the program? There's the motivation of context. So suddenly you're not in a bloody high school class doing these abstract questions that don't have context. You're in the carpentry program. That's giving you incredible motivation to succeed there. You might have been crappy at math before, but you're doing carpentry math now. You're doing chemical production math now. And that's way more added motivation to succeed, and you're going to do way better. You're going to rise up to that challenge.
Right, so first of all, in these kind of talks there are a lot of metaphors, which is fine, but metaphors have always limitations. We have always to remember that mathematics class is not sports. In sports there is one winner, but in mathematics class there can be many winners, right? Again, everybody can succeed in math class, so there is no that fierce competition as in sports. Now, actually, Trevor, you said that students will help each other. In reality, studies show that students will form clusters, and weaker students will be together, and stronger students will be together, and there will be no help. Usually, weaker students will revert to cheating in that kind of environment. You see, because stronger students also are not interested to waste their time, and they don't have that training to help those students. Now. Remediation also is not about introducing some extra class, but it's not like covering up what school has missed, but also it can be splitting complicated classes. Like we have in Seneca College, we split Keynote 106 math course into 2 courses, which cover the same material, but slower, to cater to students who need more time. And why some students need more time? Again, research shows that different students have different working memory capacity, different wiring of the brain. So it might be that some students just physically require more time to succeed. It's actually a wrong assumption that everybody is just equal. Everybody is equal in the sense that everybody can succeed in math, but not everybody is equal in the way they succeed in math. Right? So some students just require a different approach, a little bit more time, maybe different kind of explanations. And that's it. That's it.
So, we had in our electrical engineering program, we used to have the way the math went was 131, 231, 331, 431, 531, 631. We tried an experiment where instead of saying, okay, let's do 131, we'll do 115, 215, then we'll do a course called 315, which will be a combination of 231, 331 to keep everyone up to date. The success rate didn't change. Those that were successful in 131, 231, 331, 431, etc. We had the same success rate in, well, let's say when they were successful in 131, we had the same success rate with the 115, 215. Now the problem came up with this idea of catching up by going slower. We had to make a new course called 315 in order to get them ready for 431. So we took 231 and 331 and smushed them together like that. The success rate of that was way, way lower. So the idea was we slow them down first year using remediation courses, and then we speed them up to get everyone caught up. So if they have to go slow here, how are they going to go faster here? They can. And we've done that. We also did that with the mechanical engineering program. Gave them 115, 215, and then they hit them with 315, and the failure rate was abysmal. Okay. So if you're going to be having these remedial courses, you do have to add an extra year. in most cases. If you're going to add an extra year, why not put them in something like a pre-tech or an upgrading course? Pre-technology is great. They get the math at a slower rate, they get the English at a slower rate, they get to try some different courses they may not have been interested in, but they get to do it at a slower rate and they get the year and it's done properly. Doing it with remediation integrated into the program will not yield better results. In fact, it can, in fact, yield worse results.
Okay. I have some. So this is the thing. So I've been teaching. I teach 4 levels of math, and I've been teaching the remedial for the last 9 years, and it's my passion. And the thing is, they don't not only come to us with the challenges, but they feel that way. I spend the first few weeks breaking down the wall that they come into my classroom with. They're already afraid. It's not something we put into them. A lot of us know how they get through high school. We do check off that mark, but it doesn't mean it's the reality. The high schools push them through. So the thing for me is, we may like to say certain things, but the reality is the remedial need is actually growing. It's not getting less. And so they come in, they're freaking out. I spend the first couple of weeks, breaking down that wall. I literally tell them, break down that invisible wall I can see in front of you, and let's start working. And what they're doing is, and it's one course, so I can't speak for the other colleges. It's one course. They're still with their cohorts. And we offer common courses in the first and second semester for the most part, so that they can pathway. If they're in one program and they decide it's not for them, then they don't lose the credits and can go to another one and so on. So really, they're not even with their cohorts until usually year 2 and into year 3. So they're sort of integrated with a bunch of other programs. They get a feel for things. But it's a common, so I'll tell you another thing, I can only speak for myself. My remedial students work harder than my non-remedial students. I don't like to use the word remedial anyway. They work harder than the regular classes. They do more work. For me, they attend more so than the others. I quiz them every week, so that's another thing. And their success rates, when they come, so they follow me through, they'll do the remedial, then they'll come into the college level 1. They do significantly better than the ones that have come in first intake. So, speaking just for myself. Now, I'm also now a chair. So I actually look at the budgeting and I look at the costs, and I have the students coming into my office asking for assistance and whatnot. The ones that keep failing, keep paying anyway, and I'll tell you that I have had students ask to drop down into the remedial courses because they feel so isolated in the ones that, I mean, at the end of the day, you guys can only do so, we can only do so much, right? If you have all these levels in one class, you can only do so much. The Learning Center can only do so much. Student peers can only do so much. So for me, the students that come into the remedial classes actually feel comfortable that they're with a peer group that they don't have to pretend with. They don't have to act like they are understanding when you can see that blank look on their face. You don't have to go to them at the end of class because they're too embarrassed to put their hand up during class, right? And we've all had those students. It's a comfort level that is with the same amongst them all. And they put their hands up and they ask the same question because they know a bunch of other students are going to have the same one. So for me, I'm just realistic in the fact that I think it's highly beneficial. It builds their confidence. They continue on to do really well. And with the funding, I totally get that because I do the budgets every semester. It's not different. Most of them will fail the first semester if you plop them in there because we've had that happen. And have to take it again anyway. So I just, we can go back and forth, but we just need to look at the realities of the situation. My hope is that what's happening around the elementary schools will build and strengthen, and we'll probably see that in about 7, 8, 9 years. But right now, the reality is they're coming in, and the international students who used to be stronger than our domestic students are no longer. We're starting to have more international students in our remedial, and it's not like before when they used to say, I don't actually understand the question, because I could have sat down and had one of them teach my class, and they'd do phenomenal. It's not that. They're also now struggling. It's just, it's this thing in their mind that exists. And we had this whole talk about the beliefs in Maxim's thing yesterday. They come in believing themselves. So our job now is not only to teach them the foundation that they need, but to turn that belief around that you are not stupid, because that's what they think. We're not making them feel that way by putting them in that class. I look at it the reverse. You're telling them it's okay that you're not strong in this. We're going to give you some time to build that confidence. You're going to do just fine, and we really do. Again, I can only speak for and yes, I am a phenomenal teacher. I think we all are. Okay, you took so long. I have to talk now. Thank you.
On this side? Okay, so the rules are, if you have already spoken once, you have to wait until all first time speakers is on, and then we vote. We can do that.
I just have a question. We're all talking about failure rates. People are going to fail. What is your failure rate at your college? What are we talking here? 50%?
40%.
Okay, just a quick show of hands. If people have some knowledge of the failure rates. In a first year math course, level 1, failure rate higher than 50%. 40%. 30%. 20%. That's where we are, 20%. And I've been there almost 20 years, and it's within plus or minus 2% for those whole 20 years.
All right, now, this side, a speaker for the first time, no. So we're in the middle here, and you guys are going to end up a few times. There we go. Thanks.
I'm in full agreement. I hear Maxime's comment about the strong helping the weak flock together. The strong, they stay away from the strong and are embarrassed to reveal to the strong that they don't understand the math. It just doesn't work that way. We're all under great pressure to increase enrollment. We're taking less and less qualified people all the time. The reason that these people are in trouble in the first place is because they've been integrated into math classes all the way through high school and didn't learn the material. It doesn't work, okay? As far